I had a dip slip. Oh no, cut the camera. Whose phone is that on set?
Your own phone.
Oh no. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me again, Jed, with a new sneaker video today. Really excited about today's pair of sneakers. It's something that's super important to Australian culture. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Let's show you these sneakers. Today we have the Nike Air Presto Australian Olympic. This is like built for shoeies basically. Like you could use this to just like scull beers and stuff. That's why they made these. All right, so where do I even start? Anyone that's been into sneakers in Australia for long enough knows exactly what these are. They came out in the year 2000. It was a friends and family release only. So this has been one of the rare unicorns that you could never ever get again. I've only ever seen a couple of random pairs of this sneaker around, and it was purely by chance. I know a few people that did get the original pair back in the day just because they were working in the right areas. But basically these only went to the athletes, some of their friends and families, and other VIPs that Nike decided to give them to. The details on them are absolutely amazing. In terms of the look of the shoe, like, man, the upper is amazing. You've got that classic spacer mesh material that you've used on Prestos forever. You've got the Southern Cross embroidered on the toe. And the quality of the embroidery on the sneaker is amazing. Like, they've done a really good job on the quality of it. It's not like your flimsy, thin kind of thread. It's really, really thick, and you know that it's gonna last. The cage itself is pretty much exactly the same as the original. Obviously, the ones that came out in 2000 have yellowed over time, but there's only a couple of slight differences that I've seen with this shoe compared to the original. I know that the sizing was a bit different to last time because usually, I think they were like a centimeter smaller than the originals in terms of sizing. And also they've got a swoosh here in the midsole, which is that varsity maize color on the inside of the insole. But the original, that was actually just a clear section. But besides that, like, most of the shoe is pretty much the same. The Oz on the back tab is a really cool feature as well. And it's got the Oz on the tongue too, with another embroidered Southern Cross. And the signature Aussie colors, green and gold, like, yeah, it's such a good color combination. I know that for a lot of other countries, it would be a bit kind of weird, but for the Australian demographic, yeah, that's iconic. So a lot of people think that the Nike Air Presto upper is neoprene, similar to the Huarache. It's actually a different material that they came up with specially for this shoe. It's called spacer mesh. And the whole idea of it is neoprene it gives you that flexibility and lets the shoe mold to your foot, but it actually creates heat because that's the point of it. Whereas the spacer mesh is created for running. So they wanted to make a shoe that would have that spacer mesh, still have that mold to your foot feel, but then would actually let your foot breathe and it wouldn't make it super, super warm, which is, I think they did perfectly, because when I wear Prestos, I never feel like it's too hot or anything. It's such a breathable shoe. It's super comfortable, and it's definitely one of the best, in my opinion, for lifestyle, but with that kind of running look. In my opinion, this is probably the most important sneaker that's ever come out of Australia that's had a direct relation, a direct collaboration with our flag. You know, shout out to Sneaker Freak that's done the Tassie Devil, Supplier's done the Chima Ferguson with bands, and those are dope as well. But the Australian Presto from the Olympics is something that I remember seeing as a kid on TV. I remember seeing athletes wearing that sneaker, and then when I got into shoes later on, a few years later, it was just, I needed that shoe, and then I found out I could never have it. It was almost impossible to get it, and you never saw them around. The best thing about it is that, you know, to the wider market, it's not really as sought after because people don't know about it, so you can get your hands on them for a pretty cheap price, which is great. More Australians can have them. But people that don't know, are missing out because this shoe is so important to our culture. It's also got the original sizing system where it was designed like a t-shirt. So instead of having your traditional 8, 9, 10, 11, 12s, it's actually in shirt sizing. So this one here is a small, which fits up to a size 9. Comfort-wise, I definitely think that the Nike Air Presto is one of the best, most comfortable designs that Nike has ever done. And what people don't realize as well is this shoe actually only officially came out in the year 2000 when this collaboration was originally made. They had prototypes coming out from 1996, and it was actually Toby Hatfield, which is Tinker Hatfield, the most famous sneaker designer ever. It was actually his brother that designed this sneaker, I think when he was in Korea. It was in 1996 when he made the first prototype. It was a long process from then until they made the final product in the year 2000, which came out and was the Nike Air Presto. And the whole theme of it was to make a shoe that fit like a shirt. The thing that runners wanted from the research that they had done was they wanted something that was comfortable, but also felt like you could wear it like it was a pair of slippers, and that's kind of how they came up with the design. It's pretty cool that I didn't even know that Tinker Hatfield's brother was like a huge sneaker designer as well, so that's pretty sick that he came out with these. And compared to like a lot of the other classic Nike designs, like your Dunks, your Air Force Ones, Blazers and all that kind of stuff, it's a relatively new sneaker. I remember Prestos being like on sale racks in the early 2000s because people didn't really know what they were, and it's only in the past like few years with Off-White doing a collaboration with them, and they've had a massive resurgence in that style, but it's always been one of my personal favorite designs that Nike's ever done. Also, huge shout out to Supply for actually pulling this off. It was them that actually collaborated with Nike to create this re-release in 2020 for the Australian Olympic Nike Presto. And I think it's such a good idea, especially with the Olympics supposed to happen this year. It was perfect timing. And the way that they released it with all the little secret Easter eggs was really cool. Like I remember seeing on the page, there was that little like kangaroo, like boxing kangaroo that came out. And you know, a lot of people were kind of trying to figure out what that meant. And when the shoe dropped, it was so cool. Like you had a couple of iconic Australian athletes posted on their IGs as well, like Nick Kyrgios and Ben Simmons. Like Lauren Jackson is like one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. So yeah, they had like Sam Kerr, I think, as well. So they had a bunch of like famous athletes that are important to Australian culture actually post a shoe on IG, which I thought was a really cool thing to do as well, because it's just something for us, you know what I mean? And I think that like, if you're an Australian like sneaker collector, that's definitely something that I would feel like is a really important part of it. So the retail on this sneakers is coming in at 190 Australian dollars. The resale at the moment on things like on StockX is around the 230 mark Australian. So like I said earlier, not a huge resale price. There's not like a crazy amount of hype around it, but I don't really care about that because for me, this is something that I've wanted since I was a kid and I thought I would never get my hands on it. So the fact that it re-released and I was able to get a pair, like I'm ecstatic about it. And I would easily get a second if I could because I'm gonna wear these things to death. I know for a lot of sneaker guys on YouTube, this is not gonna make the top 10 for them, but me being an Australian Filipino, it's easily a top 10 sneaker for the year. I didn't even know that these were going to come out in early 2020, so the fact that they have come out, they're definitely in my top 10 list so far. I know that I've said that about a few pairs of shoes that I've talked about, but obviously I'm going to be talking about shoes that I like. But yeah, like this pair like has, as you can imagine, like so much like emotion attached to it, being like a kid that grew up in Sydney when the Sydney Olympics were on. The whole friends and family thing, you couldn't get them. They only were given to Aussie athletes and VIPs. Like that whole thing adds to the whole story. And the fact that it's been 20 years since they've even seen the light of day and they remade them and they remade them well, they actually look so similar to the original pair. Like they've nailed it. So like easily top 10 for me of the year. Biased opinion being an Australian, of course, but that's all this is. It's about opinions, right?
Yeah, but can you like beat the world record of 100 meter sprint in that?
I'm pretty sure Kathy Freeman. No, jokes.
Can you?
Oh, yeah.
That's what the viewers want, Jed. They want to know if you can do 100 faster than Usain Bolt.
Now this makes you this just makes you drink harder. So this sneaker is a definite cop in my opinion. 190 retail, some places you can still get it for that price. Worst case scenario, it's online secondary market for like 230, like under 250. So really not spending a lot of money for what in my opinion is a very, very iconic sneaker, especially in Australian history and Australian culture. If you're an Australian sneaker person, sneakerhead, whatever you want to call it, I definitely think that's something you should have in your collection because yeah, without that sneaker, like yeah, that's one of the most important things in the sneaker history of Australia, in my opinion. All right, guys, these are my final thoughts on sneakers at $190 Australian. It's a definite cop, only $230 in the secondary market. So one of the most important sneakers in Australian history, definite cop. If you agree with me, let me know down in the comments below. If you disagree and you think that they're trash and they're a bit too true blue, then let me know as well. But I'll see you guys next time for another video. Peace out. Hey guys, so if you liked the video, please make sure you subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, leave me a comment, check out our other videos as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.